So in the previous video we put together a retro gaming PC based around the AMD K6 3 Plus and a PCI GeForce FX 5500, and today we're gonna compare this graphics card with the Voodoo3. So basically I just swapped out the cards, ran some benchmarks, and we're gonna compare them in terms of performance but also features, because performance is just one aspect to consider. Let's start by looking at DOS performance. We've got a graph here with all the benchmarks. We can see that the Voodoo3 is actually the stronger card in DOS. This is at the 320 by 200 resolution in 3D Bench, and especially in Doom the Voodoo3 is faster. So Doom is a little bit of a weak spot for the FX 5500 PCI card, but the same thing happens with the FX 5200. In Chris's 3D Bench and in Quake and in PC Player benchmark, there is not much of a difference. Playing at the higher 640 by 480 resolution, really there's not much of a difference. In Chris's 3D Bench we're getting 66 frames, in PC Player benchmark are 37 and 38, and in Quake we're getting 19 FPS. Let's check out performance under Windows. We've got the 3D Mark benchmarks. Now, 3D Mark 99, the Voodoo3 is stronger, but in 2000 and 2001 SE, the FX 5500 is much stronger. Now, these benchmarks take advantage of the transform and lighting engine that the GeForce has, whereas the Voodoo3 has to rely on the processor. In direct 3D games, the Voodoo is actually faster. Now, yes, the Voodoo3 renders only in 16-bit colors, but the GeForce FX 5500 is so powerful. That is not the reason why the Voodoo is faster. Very likely it's to do with the drivers. A lot of you mentioned that in the comments. The Voodoo cards have drivers that are very efficient with the AMD K6 processor, with the 3D Now functions that are inside the processor. So in incoming we're getting 73 compared to 58, and in expandable 30 compared to 22. Now looking at OpenGL performance, things are a lot more interesting. In GLQuake, in Quake 2 and in MDK2 with the stock drivers, the GeForce FX is stronger. Apparently the OpenGL API can take advantage of transformation and lighting, and that's where the GeForce is a little bit stronger. In Quake 3, for whatever reason, the Voodoo3 is actually a little bit quicker. Now, Quake 2 is interesting. The blue and the orange bar, they have been tested with the AMD 3D Now patch. However, the gray bar also has a special mini GL driver that is optimized for 3D Now, and that's why the Voodoo can gain some extra performance. So we're getting 79 FPS. However, there are a couple of other games where you can use a mini GL driver, but that's about it. So Quake 2 is kind of like a showcase game of that technology, and it just shows you what could have been possible if the developers taken more advantage of 3D Now optimizations. Also a look at power draw. Under idle there's not much difference. The entire system at the power supply draws 45 watts under idle in Windows, and under load, this is Quake 2 running with VSync off, we're getting 65 watts for the GeForce FX and 61 watts for the Voodoo3 3500. So that surprised me a little bit that the FX actually consumes more power. However, there's more to choosing a video card than pure performance. So I'm just gonna point out some of the advantages that I believe these cards have. So let's look at the Voodoo3 first. The biggest advantage in my opinion is the support for the Glide API, especially older games. Many of them support Glide. They run faster, they look very nice, and yeah, they're really optimized and run really well on the K6 platform. Also, the drivers are period correct and extremely compatible with the old games. So with the GeForce FX, we were forced to not modify, but we had to force another driver to get semi-period correctness, but we're still years ahead of what we can do with the Voodoo3 in terms of using an old driver. The Voodoo3 also has really good VGA signal quality and excellent DOS performance. You've seen it before. The Voodoo3 usually beats the GeForce FX under DOS, for example. Now the GeForce FX also has benefits, and that's really up to you. You need to decide what games am I playing and what is important to you. First up, we've got a DVI output, so digital signal. You don't have to calibrate the position of the monitor, you get a clear image. You also get 32-bit color support. Now, with some of the older games, they only support 16-bit colors, so it's not a big deal. But games such as Incoming, you're getting 32-bit colors, and it does look nicer. The GeForce FX is also powerful enough to use anti-aliasing as well as anisotropic filtering to make your old games look just that little bit nicer. It also has good cooling. The Voodoo3 tends to run hot, and people usually modify a cooler onto it. It's not a problem with the FX 5500. It's got a nice cooler on there. It's also got lots of video memory, 256 megabytes of video RAM, so there is room to grow and maybe use that card in a faster machine or in another project. Also, the FX 5500 is quite cheap. I believe it was around $20 and $5 shipping, and that's, yeah, for a brand new card basically. And all in up, I purchased 3 cards because I believe this card will be quite interesting going forward and in the future. Now, there's one important update on the FX 5500. One of my viewers told me that it doesn't work on motherboards that do not have an AGB port, so that made me redo some of the parts of this video. And I actually tested this and confirmed it. So if you're planning on using this FX 5500 PCI card on a socket 7 motherboard that does not have an AGP interface, it won't work. So this card seems to be only a solution if you have a Super Socket 7 motherboard or socket 7 motherboard with an AGP interface. So we had a look at the performance differences and the features, and it boils down to your preferences and the games you're playing. Likely, if you want to play a lot of glide games, then you're better off with the 3DFX Voodoo. The GeForce FX does a better picture with 32-bit colors, and you can use anti-aliasing and texture filtering, and it's got more memory. It is simply the stronger card. Now on the K6, having a stronger card doesn't really translate that much into stronger performance, because it does depend on the driver and how much CPU processing power is required. The transform and lighting support is great. We can see it in the benchmarks, we can see the performance boost in some games, but it's not enough to really make those games playable. So MDK2 will always lag on a K6 machine. There's nothing really you can do about it. Now, don't rush out and buy one of these cards just yet. I've got another video planned that might make your decision a little bit easier. That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. As always, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet and you like the content, consider subscribing. Hit the like or the dislike button and leave me a comment down below. How do you compare these two cards? Which one would you prefer? Have you got any experience with either one of them? And that's it. I see you soon with another video.